Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Name is James here. I title this video Greedy Politicians and Smart Immigrants. The reason why I entitled this because I heard some earlier today, people on the Democrat as well as far as well in Republican. And people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have a whole lot of money. And I believe they're doing it for other reasons because they have people that they can bring in to work little to less and really not only for the votes but to gain favor and get cheap labor from people that really wants to out cheat your local people that want to put in the work. It's funny when I heard on one of the news channels that when the reporters asked her, what do you think about the unemployment numbers? And her response was, what do I care about the numbers about unemployment? And what Ms. Pelosi don't understand that it is, if you really smart and think about this, you have people, the working majority of this country is make up of the working middle class to low poor people that really are going into poverty because jobs are losing jobs. Here in Ohio, General Motors has laid off 2 shifts of people. And then there are companies that work with General Motors had to lay off employees. You have people here. So what happens is when them people get laid off from their job, it's going to take a while. It probably takes a couple of weeks to get unemployment. Then a certain amount of time when you get unemployment, if you don't have unemployment and your unemployment run out, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is that you're going to have to go to, get some assistance from Job and Family Services, and get food stamps. And then that's going to be a long line. And with that, you have a lot of people who have houses. They're going to lose their house. They're going to lose their car. Working class people that put these politicians in office, that paid their taxes. Their parents paid their taxes. The grandparents paid their taxes in this country for as long as the United States has been here. And everybody, it seems like they're not looking out for the working poor man. In places here in Ohio and other across the country, all the way to the West Coast, where she come from, and many politicians like her come from, you have a third world condition out there. A lot of those folks is not just out there panhandling. It's not like who wants to be one day lose their house and have to think of living in third world conditions, like living out in the streets of America. Who wants to live like that? Who wants to be out there in the element worried about getting robbed, worried about getting beat up, worried about getting harassed by the politicians or whatever, and whatever little that they have is because they don't have enough housing to build on the West Coast in different cities out on the West Coast, as well as the Midwest and the East. They don't have enough housing because the homelessness is rising. And then you have to take the people who are working restaurant jobs. You're working at practically minimum wage. So you got to try to figure out how to work 2 jobs, work yourself to death, trying to take care of a family, which that's a whole different ballgame. Because if you or your kid gets sick, you got the hospital bills are keeping you unbound, and you're trying to make a car note, trying to put food on your table, medication in your body, and other health-related problems that the working class people are struggling with all across America. These people don't seem to get this. And so that's why people like Trump is trying, in his own way, trying to solve the problem and saying get more jobs back. Will they all come back? No, we see what's going on with the trade thing going on right now. We see that there's some companies, they're going to a trade war right now. Now you got companies, and American companies, a few of them have decided they're going to take their business overseas. they going over to another country so they won't be taxed with this tariff, whatever they have. And the people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer in New York, they don't think about that. They don't think about that. What they should be worried about is things like that. Now getting to the point about the immigrants. You have immigrants that's been waiting to come into this country, and they've done it the right way. And I was thinking about this on the way up there. They have to learn in different parts of the world, whereas Europe, Africa, whatever, they have to learn basic English where they come from and learn to speak the language, because when you get to America, not everybody is going to speak your language. Not every paramedic, firefighter, police officer, or something in that category is going to understand your language. They're not going to understand. So you need to learn to speak English, which is true, because some people get very irritated and they have to run around, and somebody could be dead. Or if let's say an immigrant gets into an accident, how is she going to communicate if her child gets sick, they get sick, and they get into an accident out there on the road or have some medical emergency? How are you able to communicate? How are you able to communicate with some? So it's good to learn the language, because not everybody is going to be able to speak your language, and I've run into cases like that out there where people couldn't. They had to call somebody who speak the language, whatever. So it's best for people that come into the country to know the language. And these are the smart immigrants that know what to do when they come to another country. They have to adapt that to that environment. Now, the situation down with the border. Everybody think that just because these people, they know what they put it on the United States to come over that border, and the United States is going to take care of it. And the United States right now, no one cares. It's sad that in the White House and other places that no one's caring about the people who are from this country, and the stuff that I just mentioned to you about the working class. No one's considering things like that. You have people who are on opiates in certain communities across the country, in Appalachia, West Virginia, all them little towns, all up and down from the top to Maine, all the way down to practically to Florida. You have people who are on opiates and drugs, and even going out to the West Coast, who are under some kind of mental stress and health and drugs. They're not thinking about people like, they're not thinking that there's a drug epidemic here. And so you have people who are parents who are getting hooked on these drugs, who have children who get thrown into, they're overdosing while their babies is in the house. So children, these little babies and children are naturally scared, and automatically, now common sense would tell you the system automatically put them in some place that until they get their parents some help or they arrest them or whatever. So it's the same thing going on when their parents choose to cross that border. And yeah, the children are traumatized, but so is the children whose parents are on drugs are traumatized. And they scared. That's naturally, children do cry. And they're scared because they don't want to see mommy and daddy hurt, and then mommy and daddy's passed out on drugs here in this country. People are not even considering something like that. They're not even thinking. They get so wrapped up into things and not thinking a whole thing as a whole. So Donald Trump got to worry about that problem. He's trying to figure out how to deal with that problem, how to deal. And that's the latest thing we have is with the shooting. You have people are mentally killing people in the workplace, killing people in the schools. You have people with the United States won't even address that problem. You have people that won't even address that problem, but they want to save the world and and maybe we can't make room. We can't make room for everybody. And that's when in every country, no matter if you're in Europe, no matter if it's, Asia, there's only so much they have to do. What I would do to the politicians is, why don't they go to Honduras? Why don't they go to Guatemala and Mexico and work out something so they can help their people, get a hold of this situation. If they choose to come to the United States and put them through the process, of it won't be separating families. When instead of that, what people don't want to do, they want to jump before anybody else. And you just can't let, and that's true, you can't let everybody over the border. You can't let everybody over the border. You have, a lot of stuff right now with Homeland Security, and then, it's of course somebody threaten the president, the Mexican drug cartels is threat, so he's got to look over his, but have to watch his back. I mean, that's just common sense. Trump ain't a stupid dude. He's not a stupid dude, so he know what's going on and how to deal with different people. Now he's learning, even though he's dealt with people in business. Now it's by the grace people show him how to deal with people on as far as political basis on, and I think he's learning as he go on how to deal with different situations in parts of the world. And I had someone say this to me one time, and it was a guy. He came from another part of the world, and I was out there working with him. He said, "You know what, James?" He said, "The problem with some of you Americans is you're weak." And I said, "What do you mean that we're weak?" I mean, and what I mean is, what do you mean by that? You just let everything go. You way too nice, and people see that, and so they take advantage of that, and that is true. And that the United States can't save everybody, and it's sad. Is it sad to see? My heart goes out. Of course, it's compassion. And I believe no matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or anything in between, everybody is compassion. I have compassion for some place, people in part of the world where you see little babies and kids to adults dying of nerve gas, but it's nothing we can do. I mean, it's nothing we can do, whatever. It's just people have been going to war in these parts of the world for hundreds and thousands of years. There's nothing we can do, but just basically, and maybe we can work out something with the government to help stabilize their country and stabilize their situation. But we can't. The United States can't take in everybody. It can't when the United States have bigger problems of itself with the mental health and with the drug epidemic, and you have, which leads into which has the foster care. Then you have the high still is a high unemployment rate, because now you got companies that want to pack up and go overseas. So you got to deal with that. Then the unemployment rate goes back up as far as the figures, because some companies are laying people off. And what about the working poor class? What they going through? The average family that have to figure out how they're going to feed their family. If they get sick, how they going to be able to pay the medical bills? What about that? And it's funny, and I heard one of the guys, he's called himself Phyllis Grunt. He made a good point. He said none of these celebrities don't have to deal with the immigrants because they live behind gated communities. They got weapons, so they ain't got to worry. So your Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer's, they ain't got to worry about stuff like that because they're wealthy. They got bodyguards and everything else. But the rest of the people out here who got to deal with this stuff, they don't want to have to live with it. They don't want to have. They're gonna move these people into the city, where the people who are in the city been trying to get employment for the last 20, 30, 40 years, trying to have some stable, but some companies are laid off, and some people are trying to make ends meet by doing illegal stuff. You have a lot of robberies, you have a lot of selling drug activity. This is where all this crime stuff come into these communities. And people, and it's chaos. And a lot of the stuff can be settled down if we take care of home first. A lot of it, and stop trying to be a police. Everybody in the part of the world, let's stop playing like we're God over everybody and save everybody. Some people we just can't save. I come to realize you can't save everybody. Some people are just the way it is. And my question is, why none of these other countries have stepped up? Why does it have to just be the United States that got to step up? Why they have to step up? Only Is there other countries that got money like the United States that they can put some land over and let some these immigrants come into their land? Why does it have to be the usual countries? And they have enough land and they might spread out the resources between the two countries when something happens like a natural disaster or something like that disaster. But man, but just to put it on one or two or three countries, it's not right when one, two, or three countries, their economy is sinking into the ground. You have to, everybody has to look out for their own. I come to realization, everybody looks out for their own. And you can't rescue everybody when you have so much problems with the poor working class. And this is where these greedy politicians, they don't care about that. They don't even, I mean, to the point that they don't even care about the working poor class because it ain't gonna matter to them. These celebrities, they got arms, they got guns, they got bodyguards, because they in the public, and so they well protected. And they just about protected as the president and everything, and they got the money and they got the resources to do it. But majority of people who are out here who live in the lower worker class communities, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice to deal with that. And these immigrants that come up, they smart. The biggest another myth I think that Americans have, like all people have, not just Americans, that we think just because someone speaks a different language, they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They're smart. They know everybody knows what to do and what the process to do, because the weak in the United States is to go through that border. And it's not just Central America. You got other groups of people coming through the South American border, and we don't, in the United States, don't know who is coming through that border, who's coming to do harm or whatever. So they have to protect the border. And if that means they have to reject the people, and they, that should be on the Mexican government. And personally, that should be on him. But maybe if he would do it, work something out with the United States and say, okay, this person is not a part of no gang or terrorist organization or something, the harm or their record, they're criminal or things like that. If they would do something like that, that would make it easier for the people across the border. That could be solved. They can work something out with the Guatemalan and the Honduran government, because you don't know who some of these people is. I mean, and it's the truth. That's my solution. And if they want to bring people, that way you bring the right people over that's crossing that border. Because a lot of people just rushing over the border, and then you don't know if they're part of the drug trafficker. You don't know what that they and what person send their kids out like that, 19 years old, put them on a train with a bunch of people going to 3 different countries, and a lot of these people, their parents is not because their parents is back down in their home country, so they put them on and just throw them out there just out of desperation. Therefore, they don't know that which is not smart, because the children can get molested, raped, and murdered and killed along that border. So this is what they're doing, and they manipulating people, man. And it's the truth, and just to get what they want, think that everything in America is rich, and then you have Americans, getting taken away their tax dollar after they get laid off, after they can't pay the mortgage and the rent. They need that subsidized housing to live and to get back to being a productive citizen and repair their credit to get back, which they was entitled to that because they was the first ones. But all of a sudden, how do you feel to be replaced with somebody just coming to the country, giving something, and just over you and don't even belong to your country? We couldn't do that in any other part of the world. They tell us that if I go into Europe or France or something like that, I better know, number one, the language. Number two, the process. Number three is that they citizens come first before we do. And everybody, they take care of their own, man. And it's too bad America can't learn to take care of their own before they take care of other people. That's the way it is. Everybody look out for everybody. And it's the same way. Even if I were going to Canada or whatever, it's a process. I mean, they not obligated. I'm obligated to learn their system. They ain't got obligated to learn me and learn about my citizenship. And you have some people that have this condescending attitude when they do get up on, then they start looking down on other groups of people because they're in a condition that for that they was 10, 15 years ago. But yet, you wonder why some people are bitter in this country, why they pro-Trump, because they know that they're about to get wiped out. And these politicians know that. And that's why that's why there's so much hatred, there's so much race division. It comes, one is the media, two is the politicians doing this, the ones that's not really thinking about the people's interests that put them in there. And people are getting sick and tired of it. They're getting sick and tired across this country of it. They're really getting tired of being second, third place to other people. And they've been in this country, their grandparents have suffered, paid the price, their parents and so forth, all way back. And they ain't tired of that because they paid into the tax system. They paid into the system. And for the system, just slap you in the face and just say, we're gonna disregard you over someone who has no rights to be in this country. I mean, it's just crazy. Sorry about that. Turn on the fan. It's crazy. And how can you just do that to people? So these greedy politicians, that's what they do. And I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm just saying some things you have to be about your own self. Have your own best interest, because these people don't have your best interest. They don't have the American people's best interest. I mean, they sell out just like that. They everything. And children. Is it sad to see children cry? Yes. No one wants to see babies and children cry, but there were babies and children crying when in the inner city of ghetto when they was taking a father and mother out the house for something that they did. They broke the law. There were children who were traumatized. Black children were traumatized. White children being traumatized to see their parents' opioid addiction. And if the parent is a grandparent of both of these nationalities don't grab them, they go into the system. So now they traumatized. So what makes it, and when you break the law, you automatically, this what happens to anybody. But no one's showing no compassion for them. You probably in the foster care system probably got a 500,000 kids across the country because of something like that. Because some parents that got mental health condition, drug, alcohol problems, and just on some other stuff, and them kids are traumatized. What about the American kids? American kids are traumatized. And there's a lot of kids out there that have psychological problems. They're hurt, they're not loved, they're not well taken care of, and they're not getting adopted. You got people adopting more with animals than children do. They'll care more about an animal and actually nothing wrong with loving animals, but an animal is going to have so much time to live on this earth. He'll die out before the human does. I mean, it's just this, people's value system is just crazy. It's just totally freaking crazy. But you have people who are children, who are the next generation. And wouldn't it be proud to leave a legacy that you adopted someone who maybe can turn out to be a productive citizen, till one day they'll be a tax-paying citizen to pay for the future as you age, as you go through this life. Because children bringing life into the world is precious, because as God raised them up to be adults, and then they're going to be productive in society and continually to go through the process of going out there in the field of work and paying their due, their 50, 60 years of employment and paying to the system. So why would you? So that's what I'm saying, that they don't all have to turn out to be criminals and predators and things like that. If you will nurture the children here and think about the children here first, then when you get to the point, then when we're able to get most of the homeless people off the street, most of the working class in some decent condition, then you start trying to help other people. Right now, you can't help other people with companies deciding to pack up overseas and people going to end up losing their homes. And no matter if you're in the city or if you're in a poor rural town, it affects everybody. In fact, I believe that when each state gets money, government money from the federal government, whatever, to cover the housing and cover the medical and cover all these services, whatever, the big cities get the money first. Then it filters down to the little towns and little city. And so they only got so much money in your little town and for so much money for residents and things like that. And so you have other people. So when you have people coming to the city and adding on more population of people who are not even citizens, whatever, who are not citizens, that's a slap in their face. That's a slap in that county's face and then citizens' face, because that they need for their citizens in order to survive in that town, in that county down there, in whatever state you live in. And that's a slap in their face. And that's why you go across this country in America, is some places are poor, man. I mean, some places are so poor I couldn't even imagine. I mean, people are living under $36,000 a year or whatever. And we have cases like that across this country. And people can't afford to pick up and move to a bigger city because the cost of living. You got greedy landlords, you got greedy property owners. And that's the case. That's why there's so much homelessness. Everybody's about the buck and bringing these high tech and people over and putting them over these people and screw the other people. Just screw them just long that they pay us to make us rich, keep them in poverty. And that's the way this world is right now across the United States. It seems like if people don't care, there's not enough people taking care of people that were productive, that are productive citizens of this country. That's what's really sad. It's what's really sad. You hear case after case. You got people living in cars, living up under bridges, because the homeless place they ran out. They only got so much for shelters. You got food kitchens they can only feed so many people. But yet then you got these politicians that dragging people over here and displacing and gentrifying the poor and the African American and other groups of people that had a productive community at one time. Yes, crime came in, but that was something that seemed like it sounded like it was orchestrated, obviously, because that just to remove the man out of the home of a woman. And everybody, when they come up, and I can't stand when some people come over here that think that certain people are lazy, they don't want to apply themselves. They're hardworking people. That's a bunch of crock, man. No, people want fairness. You have some people that are lazy, but not everybody's lazy. Don't want to work. And they signify a certain group of people in that way. No, it's not that. No, that's not that whatsoever. You're just trying to get cheap labor. And what is the person supposed to do? Like any person, whether you in the city or in the country, if you ain't got no work, you're going to find some legal way to make some money to support your kid, to support yourself. And you pushing people to break the law to add that's how they add more jails and prison, because they encouraging people to break the law, but yet they're breaking the law themselves by allowing somebody who don't really have the right, who's not a citizen, whose parents, grandparents never paid nothing into the system. And yet they got to be pushed aside, pushed over for somebody else. This is what's going on. And it's angering Americans across the board. And that's why people are rallying behind Trump. That's why it's right, because they seen the hypocrisy in that. They seen like, man, these politicians, they playing patty cake stuff with them and say, hey, we need to address this problem. But they want first, he gives into what they do. He works something out with them, and it's not good enough. He does this, and it's not good enough. It's like, damn, why don't you think about the people? Why don't you think about the country? Why are you trying to make a name for yourself? That's why it seemed like these Democrats is going to keep losing their seat. They're going to keep losing, and that's why it's looked like. And Trump don't have to say anything. He don't have to say nothing, even though I don't agree with everything he does. There's certain things I'm against what he did, but overall, rationality would tell you he's making him look like a fool. Like, you just make it seem like you don't care about the American people. That's why he's able to go in these little small towns in America and point all this out. His man is smart because he knows where to go. And none of these wealthy politicians won't even do it. Your Nancy Pelosi and your Chuck Schumers won't do that. And they only hurting themselves. They're only proving him right, that you don't really care. You're trying to go after, these other people, bring other people in, and they know this country. They know the condition that is in. They know that their state, their city, their town, they see the homelessness, and like in California, there's homelessness is probably in New York. Wealthy as it is, this parts of New York is struggling, and Baltimore, Maryland, and all up and down the East Coast. But you don't even care about that. All you care about is trying to, it's an ego thing with them. Greed, ego, and greed. But yet the other people have to suffer. You're not looking out for the interests of other people here. You're not looking out and maybe if you take care of the people who are native here, that have been born, raised, and their parents, their grandparents have paid taxes in their money, maybe, just maybe, the crime would go down. Maybe, just maybe, it will be able to stabilize. Maybe that if we put enough institutions into mental health, whatever, maybe they won't have to be Dylan Roofs and other people out here shooting people in the workplace. Just maybe. But yet you want to ban the guns, but it's the problem behind it. There's a system behind the guns, and if you don't have guns, you got to protect yourself, because some people, the robber is going to be strapped. Some people going to rob, they used to carry a weapon, so you're gonna have to have a weapon, because the robbers have to have a weapon, and the police ain't gonna have time. And what if it turns into a chaos where crime would increase like crazy, and every time you hear about 10 home invasions, you know how many police officers, they can't respond to 5-10 home invasions at once. No matter how many cops you put on the street, they can't be there all the time. So you have to protect yourself. Then they have to go by law. How did this person get? The detectives have to come out. Did you shoot? How did the crime? Who did the subject have the weapon or what? So people have to be strapped. They have to be. You have to have some type of weapon. The problem is the people who's getting shot is the people who got a mental case. The people who's killing kids, killing co-workers, killing innocent individual are people with mental problems. It's something is in them. That's what's causing the problem. It's something that's unstable. It's not the individual. It's not but taking guns off the streets ain't out of armed citizens' hand is not going to do it. It's not going to solve. People have to protect their home. They have to protect their home, because we live in a world that's crazy. I mean, you can get carjacked wherever you go. You got to have a peace. People don't care when they get desperate. They act out and they do criminalized things. Then you have this thing with this over in Latin America with MSS-13 or some other gang member like that. They carjacking people. They assassinating kids. But no one wants to talk about that. They don't want to talk about, but there's been victims of someone drunk driving, like the NFL player in Indianapolis. Him and his driver got out the car, and some guy runs into him and runs away and kills an Uber driver and the NFL player driver. What about the young men? What about the people out in California who got assassinated by someone who wasn't supposed to be in his country, because they do it, and once they caught this person, something was wrong with the system. They keep coming back and forth, and they commit more crime. They commit more, atrocity and things like that. What about people like that? What about those people? I mean, it's bad enough you got people here doing crime that live here that doing crime, but somebody that go from an immigrant that comes overseas, they smart. And let me show you another way they smart. Let's say a Latino Hispanic population, they know that it's gonna be wild to be able to detect them. They know this.